And away we go. It is a live nightcap right here on BearcatJournal.com. Brought to you, as always, by our good friends at Galactic Fried Chicken. Get on down to Dayton, Kentucky. Tell them to pump it up. Save yourself 15%. Get you some chicken tenders. Get you some delicious chicken dunkers. Get you some fried chicken. And our good friend Shane and the fine folks at Galactic Fried Chicken. We'll take care of you. My my dad and stepmom went down there for dinner earlier in the week, Aaron, and they said, holy cow, that place was a madhouse. Just people everywhere. Dining room full, line for pickup orders. He said, whatever they're doing down there, it must be going really, really well. So
good.
Yeah. So get down there, visit our friends at Galactic Fried Chicken, and get yourself the good stuff.
By the way, watch out for the best of 2023 coming from City Beat. I believe it's dropping this week, where you can vote for Galactic. You can vote for Galactic Fried Chicken as the best fried chicken in the city. Even though they are over in Dayton, Kentucky, they are still considered part of the greater Cincinnati area, and help Shane out.
Yeah, I mean they were number 2 fried chicken in the city, number 2 chicken sandwich in the city, and let's get on number 1 this year. Let's make that our mission. We always win like Twitter polls, things like that. Let's get Galactic to number 1.
I mean,
we'll remind you every night.
If Pardon the Punctuation can come in third 2 different times in City Beat for the best sports coverage in the city, I think Shane can get to number 1 for fried chicken.
All right, Aaron, let's go. It's a rough night. Bearcats played well in spurts. Oh, look, there's a cat.
What's your hat doing?
I was scratching the back of my head, and then I realized the cat had decided to take residence on the back of the chair.
Oh, I watched it happen in the bottom of the screen as it was happening.
She heard that Pickles had been making her star turn, or Pickle, I'm sorry, had been making her star turn during the BCJ podcast. So now Missy back here wants to get in on the action. Oh, are you okay? You got to get situated. You got to get comfortable back there. See, now you took your face out of the screen. Stupid cat. 72-59, like I said, there were some moments that the Bearcats played well, had a lot of fight, but there were too many mistakes. And if you're playing a team that is going to be number 1 in the country, you can't have as many mistakes as Cincinnati had. And plain and simple, it came down, I thought the deciding factor in the game is something that my old friend Mick Cronin would call turnovers for touchdowns. There were just too many times live ball turnovers that just Houston took straight to the rim, dunked, or got a great look, or whatever the case may be. They give up 26 points on 17 turnovers. And you really only do that if you're giving up a shit ton of live ball turnovers. And the passes were lazy. Like they weren't. The way Houston plays defense, the way Houston jumps passing lanes, like they don't have a lot of size at the guard spots, like Sasser and those like Shed, like they're 6'1", 6'2", Shed, whatever.
I think it's Shed.
So they've kind of decided to play like defensive backs. And if you throw a lazy pass or a pass that doesn't have conviction, or it's telegraphed, and you let them know like ahead of time, they are going to try to jump the passing lane and take it for a dunk. And I thought Cincinnati got suckered into that far too many times. I mean, what was the actual number? 13 steals for Houston, 10 of them in the second half. 10 steals. Marcus Sasser had 5 steals on his own. Jarris Walker at 6'8", 235 pounds of chiseled muscle.
We thought that Locken moved fluidly.
Well, yeah.
Goodness.
Yeah, when he plays like that and he's starting to play like that with some consistency, that's a team that's going to be damn near impossible to beat. That corner, like kind of step back two he hit that where his feet were on the line. How do you defend that? Like, and Wes said in the post game, like, you have to pick something to take away from that dude. If he wants to take contested long jump shots, we're going to let him take contested long jump shots. And he said, I bet I got you, fam.
Not that it matters, but if you look at, if I went back and rewatched the game actually already, and his only three that he made, his feet were on the line on that one too. Just saying.
Yeah. Well, he had two long jumpers that were ruled twos. And then the three, they were really close. I didn't overanalyze it.
I mean, it was as close as Dave's was a couple games ago, where the front notch of his shoe is on the line. So yeah, no, it was certainly a two. But again, not that any of it matters at this point.
Wes was really pissed after the game.
He should have been.
I agree. I'm not saying he should have been happy. But clearly, I know there were a lot of positives to take away from this game. Wes was not having any of that. He was not happy with the way that they played. He was not happy. I mean, you give up three pretty significant runs that kind of defined the game, because Cincinnati was always trying to scratch back from, they get up, what was it, 12 or 13 in the first half. You get it back down to 7 at halftime. They come out and go on the big run, start the second half. They get up 20. You get it back down. They push it back up. You get it back down a little. She's not made for this life, Missy. It's not for her. So just too many times where, like, maybe that's enough to beat Tulane, but it's not enough to beat Houston.
No,
because look, what did we see from them that was very clear? Like, they've got dudes that are going to make tough shots. Sasser and Mark hit a couple that were like, what else are you supposed to do? Like, hand in the face, perfect defense, contest the shot, win it anyway. Like, that's what the number one team in the country has, right? Like, they have dudes that can step up and make those plays. And you have to match that. And for most of the first half, I think Cincinnati had 28 and Landers and Micah had 24. You can't have two guys show up when you're playing them. Now, Vic showed up in the second half, but Dave was pretty much non-existent. JD was non-existent. Even I thought both of them took, for the most part, they took good shots. They weren't out there hunting bad shots, I guess is what I'm saying, but they were cold. And if you're gonna beat a Houston, you can't have two of your top four guys be cold, and then the one guy shows up in the first half, the other guy shows up in the second half, and basically your number 5 or your number 4 guy is the guy, Mike Adams-Woods, that leads you in scoring. It was uneven. I thought the effort was good, but the execution was not close to good enough to beat Houston.
So I want to again say that Landers Nolly is the best passer on this team, not even close. And more often than not, I feel like his teammates aren't ready for how good he passes the ball.
He threw some bad, ill-advised passes today, though.
The one early in the game that Vic missed was a great pass.
Yeah.
Because you had to pass it over the defender, and Vic just didn't understand, like, oh, you can't just get it directly to me. And maybe I'm watching from the sideline, not from behind, so I don't know what the trajectory was exactly, but that's how it looked. So I don't know. That was frustrating. Odie was horrendous offensively. He glitched in the matrix.
His controller froze.
Not one, not two, but 3 separate times that happened.
That's what Houston does to players that don't play with confidence, right? Because wide open, he just assumed that there was somebody there. And then he hesitated. And by the time he hesitated, somebody was there. You have to play with conviction when you're playing them.
It looked like, without the braids, it looked like Kalu, and what I've seen down low from Kalu Ezikpe had contagiously passed on to Odie. And so it didn't matter which one of them was in, although
Kalu gave him some pretty good minutes.
I actually did too, which is weird. It's like he understands that his role has diminished to nothing unless he can prove that he deserves to be on the floor.
Well, Wes said post game he's had a couple good weeks of practice.
Good.
And he is refocused, like kind of. I think there was maybe with him there was some entitlement, thinking I'm just going to come in and be handed my minutes. And that wasn't the case. And hopefully been humbled a little and can be a guy that can help them through the rest of conference play because they're thin on the interior. Berg, I'm not going to like Berg. They out-rebounded Houston 39-33. I'm not going to throw a fit about Landers having no rebounds. I'm not.
That's like making the same excuse that Dan had fantastic rebounds, but wasn't able to do anything with any of his shots. Like,
right.
Okay.
They out-rebounded Houston 39-33. I'm not gonna pick at rebounds.
What was your favorite play of the game for Cincinnati today? I have one in particular that was astounding.
Okay.
It was the fake pass by Landers Nolly
for the corner
for the 3.
Well, because that's just what we were talking about. Houston was overplaying the passing lanes. Like if you watch on that fake, that dude almost knocked over Kelvin Sampson.
He flew into his own bench.
Right. That's what I'm saying. He almost knocked over Kelvin Sampson. Yes, we talked about his turnovers. I thought he was bad passing the ball today.
He also came out hot and scored 12 points in the first 10, 15 minutes of play and then went cold. But he was the reason they were in the game for the first 10 or 15 minutes. So they adjusted and were guarding Landers Nolly.
Yeah. Well, they were guarding Landers Nolly to begin with. They were just making sure he wasn't getting the ball in scoring position for the rest of the game. Which I do think Landers is too content at times with like blending in. Like
I agree. I agree.
They're happy, and Wes said they ran some actions for him, and Houston just defended him well. I do think they missed him 3 or 4 times in transition in the second half, where he had he was down the floor, he had position. They just Dave twice, I think, and Micah once that I remember. They just didn't get the ball to him.
I think part of that, though, is the fact that there's nobody on the team that can pass the ball as well as Landers Nolly.
I think
he can't pass it to himself.
I think they got spooked because Houston was jumping any pass that had some air under it. They were jumping,
especially in the second half.
Yeah, Skillings needs more minutes.
Got to make shots to get more minutes. Like
until he can slow his brain down on offense.
Mm-hmm.
I think he played 18 minutes. I think that's about right.
I want him to be at a point where we're begging for him to have 25, 28. The sad truth is he's not there yet.
I think 18 minutes right now is about right for Dan. 15 to 18 minute range.
His rebounding is surreal.
It's outstanding.
He hustled for every single one of those rebounds. None of them were like gifts that just landed at his feet.
No, he is he's the perfect example of what we've been talking about for most of the season. Yes, rebounding is effort and hustle and want to. But if you're going to be a great rebounder, there is a significant portion of it that is just innate. You just know how to do it, or you don't. Hiccups, of course, great.
Inevitable.
Yeah. Dan knows. Dan knows how to rebound.
Chad knows how to hiccup.
I know how to hiccup. I'm great at it. But on offense right now, again, we've talked about this with Dan before. He's trying to score 5 points a possession. Right? Like, he had a play in the second half where Jeremiah threw him a great pass. All he had to do, he's tried to dunk on everybody all year. All he had to do is go up and dunk it. And instead he goes up and like
pulls a Mike Adams Woods circa 2021.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah, Berg, that's the first thing we talked about. 26 points off 17. Berg, do you want in? Like, I'll send you the link if you want to like talk.
We're not mad at you for calling out Landers.
Right. I'm saying I'm not going to be mad about rebounding when you out-rebounded the number one rebounding team in the country. I think that's being nitpicky and petty because clearly Berg was not happy with the way Landers played today, which there is some truth to that.
I want him to shoot more.
I do too.
He said, sure. Send him the link.
Okay.
I'm not sick tonight. I'm better.
I'm going to let you two. Like, it's always me and Berg. I want to see the dynamic between you and Berg.
That's fine.
Because you're already kind of fired up anyway.
I am for other reasons, but this game didn't help.
We'll get to those other reasons.
Did you feel like it was almost I guess I'm going out on a limb here, but did you feel like it was almost a mismatch in a different part of the entire game, but in the way that Kelvin Sampson works the refs as opposed to the way that Wes Miller works the refs? Because I feel like
much attention to that.
Well, watching the game, their camera is constantly on Kelvin Sampson. He is a part of the game, more so as a viewer than as a person at the game, taking it all in as a paying patron, if you will. But I felt like every time they showed Kelvin Sampson, he's constantly just talking to a referee. And I don't feel like Wes Miller is. You didn't catch any of that watching?
I mean, some, but I guess he's always that way. Isaac, what's going on, buddy?
So the reason I didn't want to come on just yet was that I'm trying to rock Isaac to sleep and he's not cooperating. The only reason I said the Landers Nolly thing, I know we out-rebounded him, is just 30 minutes no rebounds just shows me that you weren't really playing as hard as possible.
Okay, maybe he was boxing out. Maybe he was putting a body on somebody, and that allowed them to win the rebounding battle.
Yeah, maybe.
I'd have to go back and watch, but
I still need something.
Isaac doesn't agree.
All right, here, mute me for a minute. I'm sorry.
You're good.
Go do your thing, and when you're ready, come back. You've got the link.
Okay.
I was gonna say you are left in. Just let us know, like give us a wave or something, Berg. We will put you back in the video when you give us the wave. Good.
Isaac was not happy with.
No, he was also not happy with Landers Nolly's performance. Landers Nolly's, yeah, you're allowed to say Landers Nolly's performance. There we go. I didn't want to pull a Mr. 100, so.
Are you the only one that thought there were the 20+ lazy passes? UCF Superfan? No.
We talked
probably.
Well, UCF Superfan also only got in here at 9:27 after you had already said that there were plenty of lazy passes in the second half.
Yeah, Isaac was upset with Landers. I was upset with you can't, and this has been a team. Wes Miller is the first coach I've ever encountered, Aaron, that when they have double digit, when they have 10 turnovers, Wes is like, we turned it over too much. Normally, like 5.5, that's a really good, That's a good number.
He doesn't like double. You can understand he doesn't like double digits. As soon as he sees that second tick.
Let me finish. For the pace that they play, for the number of possessions that they have, it's a relatively like that's a small number of turnovers. Like at the pace Mick played, 10 turnovers was 12 turnovers was a lot because they only had 55, 60 possessions.
They only had 55, 60 points.
Well, yeah, usually about a point per possession. That's standard in college basketball. When you're playing 70, 75 possessions, 10 turnovers really isn't that's 10, 12 turnovers is, 5 or 6 a half when you're playing at that pace. That's not a like what the hell type thing. So Wes was furious with 17 turnovers in a lower paced game and so many of them resulting in runouts and easy baskets. I'm agreeing with you. I'm just I'm adding some context to my point.
I guess I just don't think it's a crazy thing for him to have a goal set at anything double digits is too many, and to make sure that that's the standard, regardless of the pace of play from game to game, just to get to under double digits.
And I get his point. I'm just saying when you play that many possessions, there's going to be a charge, or you're going to think a guy's going to cut and he doesn't, or you're going to think a guy's going to stay put and he cuts. Like with as much flow as they run, which is read and react, you're going to have a couple times a half where, things kind of go off the rails a little bit. Wes holds that to a very high standard. So it was really surprising. And I'm not saying he's wrong for that. I'm just saying, I'm explaining, 17, his head's going to fucking explode, especially 17 live. Or how many of those were live ball? 13 steals, Aaron. 13 steals.
You say that, but I didn't really feel at any point during the game that we've seen Wes animated on the sidelines. I didn't see that side of Wes during the game as it unfolded in real time. I didn't see, at least from what the camera showed, I didn't see anywhere in any point in time where Wes seemed like his head was going to explode.
Based on how he reacted in the post game, I'm going to guess they just didn't put a camera on him.
Maybe that's the case. I don't know. Neither of us were there, unfortunately, obviously.
Can I tell you how much that
FOMO?
No, it irritates the fuck out of me that I'm not there.
I mean, that's your work. I get it. And I did appreciate in our pregame before we decided to go live that you had mentioned that what was the phrase that you used? That you said same thing that JT actually texted me.
I don't remember.
I can tell you here in a second. It was the phrase his controller the battery's died in his
his battery, yeah.
They were all joking about that in the media rows, apparently. I don't know if you got that message from somebody or if that was just...
Well, no, it just looked like his controller died.
JT said they were all saying the same thing in the media row as the game was happening in real time. So
those are my brothers. We all talk to each other during the game.
We speak the same language. I get it.
We do.
So if that makes you feel any better, it was happening there as well. They said they spoke through halftime.
It doesn't. It makes me wish I was there, and I can't be. And I know I'm not mad that I can't be because I know it's for the right reasons.
See, fake John Goebel also said the cameras were always on Kelvin, so it wasn't just me. He did feel like a part of the game as much as anybody else was a part of the game.
But that's an ESPN thing.
Regardless, it's still part of the production where when you're sitting at home on your couch, as you know, you're seeing more games than you would like to do in this sense.
Hate it.
This is how you have to take it in. And so this was how I have been taking this entire season in. And yeah, that's how it felt. Was Kelvin was very much a part of the game and working the refs, and they show him often. But I don't know.
Stupid.
That's fine. Berg, you good?
Yeah. So Isaac's here, so he's calmed down. But
Hi, Isaac.
we before the game, and I posted this on the message board about like what would be acceptable. And obviously, they didn't cover the spread, so they lose by 13, but they were down by 20. I mean, it was pretty much good night about maybe 5 to 7 minutes into the second half. They weren't coming back from that.
All right.
And I don't really think, I mean, if Houston's being honest, I don't think they brought their A effort. They weren't really, I mean, they played hard like they always do it, but they just were kind of toying with UC with some of those steals that Sasser was getting. And,
especially like the inbound steal and
and the one where Vic and DeJulius, when they were down by 10, they came down. Oh my God,
I don't even know what that pass was. Where he tried to pass it back to DeJulius.
Yeah. Oh. Like what are you doing? But the reason why I don't think they gave their A effort is because UC out rebounded them by 6. I mean, look, I'm going to give UC credit for playing really hard and battling on the glass because I don't think anybody gave him a chance to out rebound them. But come on, Kelvin Sampson, if he really turned his dogs loose, that's not going to happen. And yeah, Houston made some tough shots, but really, I mean,
I don't like that at all because it's just a way to not give those guys credit for busting their ass.
I'm saying I'm giving them credit,
but then you're not, because then you're saying
I'm not giving them full credit.
It's a backhanded compliment.
It is a backhanded compliment.
Well, it's a way of saying like, hey, I'm glad you guys out rebounded and it was nice, but we still need to be tougher, and in certain areas. And there were just times where it just, I don't know. I just felt like they kind of didn't take it hard. And
here's my thing, Berg. Given the way that turnover disparity and points off turnovers went, that should have been a Houston 40-point win or 30-point win. And Cincinnati fought their asses off not to let that happen. Like we've seen in the past 2 years, 3 years, those games where Houston has done stuff like that, and it's 28 points in the blink of an eye. And every time Houston started, that's right, Isaac, that's right.
He knows.
Every time Houston started to pull away, Cincinnati found a way to fight back. Like they scratched and clawed back. I think they deserve credit for that. There's no moral victories.
They do. I think I'm just frustrated overall. It's hard to be patient. I'm frustrated with certain things that happened, and I'm looking at it overall. Like, I felt like there were times where UC was intimidated in the paint, and I know that. But again,
absolutely they were. So absolutely they were.
But that has nothing to do with rebounding.
I'll give you a stat to back that up. I think that this game they should have ended up with more than 9 personal fouls, but I think they were afraid to even go up because of the way that the last couple games have been called. Going up with both hands is an automatic foul anymore.
Here's something I'd love to know. This is gonna piggyback on 100 times I've said similar things. If you can dunk, isn't it fun to dunk? Can we just try to dunk, even if there's people there? just try. Just try to do it automatically. Give me the ball. I want to dunk.
I love how you just said.
Said like somebody that can't dunk.
Not anymore. Used to be able to dunk.
I love that Berg just said, Isaac, I'm done with you here. We're not rocking anymore. We got to talk about dunking, bro.
But that's the thing. Like, it's a mentality.
It is.
And not everybody has it. I get it.
I don't think they're all the way there yet in building that killer mentality.
Yeah. And I think if you're a UC fan, it's hard to be patient. This is not going to just all of a sudden they're just going to come up and beat the number one team in the country.
They will be number one come Monday. Yes.
Yeah, but they basically are in Ken Palm.
They're number one in Ken Palm. They're number one in net, and it's really not all that close.
Yeah, they're and they just have everything you could want. God, Marcus Sasser, Jesus. 5 steals, you said, and hit that 1-3 when late.
He would have just gone pro.
Yeah, he just curtains that. Like he's just man. I can't wait till he's gone. But they'll probably just have another guy that can do that. I mean, look, man, Kelvin Sampson. That team was a pile of shit. That program was nothing, so irrelevant, and he turns them into the number 1 team in about what 7 years, 7 years.
This is what I said. This is what I said.
Okay,
yeah.
This is what I said the other night, though, is the fact that one of these 2 teams is ready for the Big 12, and one is not quite there yet.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I get it. Look, lost by 13. You can say what you want about droughts and all that, but you're right. I should give them more credit for out rebounding Houston. No, not pretty much nobody does that. And they didn't just
by 6,
pack it in.
It wasn't like 34 to 33.
It was just two big droughts, one in the first half, one in the second half, mostly. Not converting some opportunities in the paint.
They also
obviously JD rimming out 2 threes didn't help. That didn't help one bit.
Houston also holds
out one.
Houston also holds their opponents under 50 for the season, and Cincinnati scored 59, and they certainly had opportunities to hit a couple of those shots, as we're mentioning, rim outs and all of that. I mean, it wasn't for lack of effort. It was just shots weren't falling.
Yeah.
Hey, Berg, did you see the Flory stat I posted the other day or commented on?
No.
So I think it was last night. Was it last night that we talked about this, Aaron? I think it was.
Well, we didn't do anything. Did we do it
Friday? It was last night.
You're right. Yeah, it was last night.
So I'm going to ask you a question, Berg. Flory Badunga missed a shot last night. It was his first miss in how many attempts? You're muted.
10.
No.
More.
40.
32.
Jeez.
He had made 32 consecutive field goals before he had a rare miss in a game last night. You ever heard of someone going 32 for 32? Like, I've seen guys just not be able to do that in an empty gym.
I think maybe slam on the bed.
Was he in attendance today? Is that what I saw?
Flory was there today. He was there with Riley Burgess, who I think is going to end up being a top 50 or better big man in 2024. He was also there with a top 75 guard that he plays AAU with, Travis Perry. All play.
You're a big Travis Perry guy, though, Chad.
I like Travis Perry. I think the staff might like him more than I do.
I feel like
I like Travis Perry.
I feel like every time his name came up during the AAU run, you were pretty high on him.
He's good. Like, he's really good. I worry about athleticism a little bit in the Big 12 for him.
Okay.
But shot maker, he can play for sure.
Could have used one of those tonight.
Yeah. So yeah. Yeah. So yes, Jimmy Reed, that Flory guy does dunk everything. Everything.
We would also love to have him.
Yeah. He's very good. It's very good to get him on campus for that type of effort today, because I thought the effort was very good.
Do you guys worry about bringing these top recruits to a game like this?
No.
And then being
never.
like, maybe I want to play for Houston.
No.
Okay. That's not a concern.
No, because they were competitive. The environment was awesome. And the easy sell on that is, look, we're just a couple guys away from competing with from beating the number one team in the country. If we had we'd beat the number one team in the country, right? That's your pitch to Flory right now. If we had a guy like you that tried to rip the rim off every time he caught the ball instead of pump faking ghosts, then we beat the number one team in the country. Like, that's your sales pitch. Like, that makes it pretty easy.
If you are better than Odie.
And then what do you think about Jace Richardson in attendance today, Berg?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, Jace Richardson was there today.
That would be son of former NBA player.
Well, I did you gave it away already. I was waiting on Berg to let him know that it was Jay Rich's son. But apparently Berg's son is dominating Berg.
He's
Right? Berg's getting dunked on right now.
He's running the show. Isaac.
This guy's posting me up.
Yeah, he is dunking all over your head.
Deep position on me right now. Trying to fight around it.
Jace Rich in attendance today.
That's his son?
That's Jay Rich's son, yeah. Jace Richardson.
Oh,
Top 50.
Can he dunk like his dad?
I have not seen him extensively yet, but he is he's one of the top point guards in 2024.
Nice. You want him? You want Jace Richardson? Yeah, he does.
Okay.
He said I want Jay Rich. Yeah.
All right, look. I'm up against it here, but I will say this.
Okay.
Bearcats played hard today. Didn't shoot the ball well. A lot of dumb turnovers. It doesn't really change my opinion one way or another of the team this year. I don't feel better about them. I don't feel worse about them.
But you're still watching, and that's the important part.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think I'm going to watch the next one. East Carolina. Come on.
I'm just saying it's not like last season where you were like, nah, I'm out on this team.
It's true. No, they have. There are. And look, here's the last thing I'll say. Victor Locken is a legit dude, and he just has to get adjusted to this type of athleticism and physicality. But the guy has the mentality that you want. That he's got the skills. He's got. I mean, I came away the fact that he did some stuff in the second half that I was like, good. He was more assertive. He took it strong. And he learned it like, hey, you know what? Like you gotta take it to them. And he even said as much after the game. And so I feel a lot better about him. I already loved him. I already love him.
He's got miles and miles of heart.
Yeah. And Skillings didn't care. He was doing it, man. He was bringing it. He was doing what a Houston player would do, offensive rebounding wise. Just got to chill and figure out a way to finish some of that stuff. But other than that, everyone else is kind of what I thought. And that's about it. So we'll move on to – do we have to play East Carolina twice?
Yes.
God, dude. This kid is killing me right now. All right, I'm out.
Can we get a final thought from Isaac?
Yeah, here it is. Are you crying because Odie didn't dunk that ball when he was wide open, Isaac? Yeah.
Which time?
Yeah, I know. He would be terrible at tip 21. You guys used to play that game?
Oh, yeah.
I cannot stand when guys come down with the ball right in front of the rim when you could dunk tip it, and you're 6'9". Why are you coming down? Dunk tip it.
Isaac is all of us right now. He is all of us right now.
Yeah.
Thanks, Berg. We appreciate you.
Say good night.
We appreciate you.
Say go Bearcats. Go Bearcats. Say go Bearcats.
Go Bearcats.
There you go.
That's what we're talking about.
He's sticking with them. All right, y'all.
Right.
See you all, Bearcat Nation.
All right. Thanks, Berg.
Bearcat Journal Nation. Okay. Sorry.
You're good.
That's the most fun we've had on this podcast in ages.
That was perfectly played by all.
I love that. Like once he put the camera on him, Isaac was like, "Get your shit together. Get your shit together. It's your time. It's your time."
If only the offense ran that way throughout the whole game. Holly was late to the show, a little later than normal. Any thoughts on Kalu? We gave brief thoughts on Kalu, but what were your overall thoughts? He played 9 minutes, which is by far the most amount of minutes he's had in a long time.
Well, I mean, the past 3 games he hasn't played.
I thought it was longer than that.
Get an Isaac and Pickle podcast spinoff.
I'm not here for that. I'm not available to actually do any of the production work in that regard. I have better things to do with my life.
I mean, Pickle and I had an epic stare off.
Go ahead.
Wednesday
you do
night.
You do you.
We stared into each other's soul. So Kalu, he was called upon. He played 9 minutes. Was he great?
Progress, right?
Was he great? No. But did he look like somebody that there were
here's
Kalu?
Can I talk? You never let me talk. Can I talk about Kalu? I've not ever said a good word about Kalu since the preseason. Fine. Here we go. Here's what I have to say about Kalu. Kalu has potential. If he didn't have potential, this staff, who has recognized potential on more than one occasion, looking at you, Skillings, looking at you, Mr. USC, who was the best recruit in the class, who was not the best recruit in the class when Cincinnati started recruiting you, but that's a story for another day. Kalu has potential. Has he reached that potential? No. Is he a work in progress? Yes. Can he get to a place that this team could use him? Sure. Is he there yet? No. So I don't know. I mean, he looked better today than he has looked. Yes, fake John Goble in the past 45 days. I would agree. In the past month and a half, maybe Santa brought him a little bit of MJ's secret stuff in that bottle. Maybe there's a couple of drops left for Kalu where he's getting some of those little bitty drops, not enough where he's going to put up fantastic numbers, but enough where he could help out this team. Sure. But Odie looked not great today, and that's when you have to capitalize. You have to seize the moment, and I think that Kalu was able to do just that today, to where maybe Odie is not the guy that this team is going to continue to go to every single time that they need a big, because Kalu was able to look like an actual Division I player today, and that's the first time that we can say that in a long time. Are you back yet? Or
I agree.
that was my soapbox.
Okay. I gave you your soapbox. I didn't interject. I didn't interrupt. I let you have the whole screen.
I don't like having the whole screen. It's intimidating.
It's unnerving.
We do it to Ed a lot, and I don't know that I've been in that place. They don't do it to me very often, but it's a lot.
So, as we talked about at the beginning of the show, and I know there's a lot of you here that weren't here at the beginning of the show.
Mm-hmm.
Wes said post game that he has been buying in a lot more in practice. He has seen the light, maybe in a lot of ways that he didn't previously. I think there was a feeling, and you know, some guys get this feeling like he was a big fish in a small pond at ODU.
Sure.
And you feel like when I transfer, that is automatically going to translate. Instead of coming in, putting your head down, working hard, earning your spot, and like the natural flow of like how things should go. And instead, when it doesn't go your way, you get frustrated, you put your head down, maybe you're not doing what you need to do in practice to like prove, hey, maybe I've looked like crap in the games, but I'm coming every day in practice and busting my ass.
And that's the very last thing that you want, is a player that is on the roster and is not trying to improve every single day. We know that he's not been good, but if he's not trying to improve every single day, that's the very last thing that you want. That's not the culture that you want this team to have.
And that's why you have to send a message of, you're not going hard, you sit. And he has responded to that. And I wonder if like he went home for Christmas and the people close to him were like, hey, like this is your last opportunity. You're out of eligibility. Like you're not getting this year back.
If you want to go play overseas, you have to show something. Or if you want to do this past this point, you have to do something. Show us something.
So Wes said he's been responding in practice. He acknowledged Odie was having a bad night. Maybe it was time to throw Kalu out there and see what he could give you. He, early in the year, looked absolutely lost, Kalu.
Yeah.
He didn't look like he knew where he was supposed to be, what was expected of him, how hard you have to play here.
It's a new offense, and there can be some adjustments to that, sure.
So to see him against the number one team in the country, they will be the number one team in the country tomorrow, to see him step up to that level and make an impact in this game. Was it a massive impact? No. But it was an impact on a night where
Was he
for
better
a day
than
where
Odie?
Odie wasn't giving you anything. Ronnie shits on JD. I don't think he was back to Davenport that we saw in the Xavier game. Like, he took good shots. He just didn't hit good shots.
Well,
There's a look.
I agree.
Good shooters miss shots.
Here's my question. Here's my question to Ronnie, and feel free to answer in the chat. But 25 minutes. Jeremiah Davenport played less minutes than Mike Adams Woods, Victor Locken, Landers Nolly, David DeJulius. He played the 5th most minutes on this team. Who else are you going to give the minutes to?
Right.
Where are you going to give any of those minutes, any of those 25 minutes?
Well, and I've seen people talk about Josh, wanting Josh more at the 4. Well, Josh is playing the 3 right now. And it's pretty clear that, like, he's not at a point where there's a trust level, a comfort level playing him at the 4. Like, how you wanted Josh on Jarris Walker?
If Hensley was playing at the level that we all expected him to be at by now,
yeah,
he would have been playing.
Bearcat 12. Skillings is a 2 guard. He plays the 2.
I like that Rob C and I were on the same wave with Hensley at the same time, but yeah. I think that if Hensley was showing something in practice, clearly Kalu was showing something in practice, hence 9 minutes, but Hensley is Wes Miller's guy. He came with him from UNCG to Cincinnati. He's the only one on the roster at this point, still with Wes Miller from UNCG. If Wes Miller believed that Hensley was able to do something with this team right now, I think he would be getting minutes. He's just not.
It's
not
for
there
me.
right
It's
now.
such a confidence issue with him.
I agree. It's not lack of skill. We've seen the skill.
Well, we've seen. I guess my
especially
thing
defensively.
Is, at the end of last year, we saw what it looked like when he played with confidence.
It's a weird place with him mentally. I don't know what it is.
I don't know if it's just trust in himself. I don't know, like it's very strange because he has the body, he has the athleticism, the skill with him. From what you see behind the scenes, he's not the most skilled kid in the world, but he's a kid that has skill, and he gets out there and he plays like
he plays scared. Because we've seen him in open gym, and he can run in open gym.
Right.
He can run in open gym. I've seen him in open gym, and I've only seen him in one open gym. You've seen him in several open gyms. He ran with this team over in Europe. Was it Greece? Correct me if I'm wrong. Spain.
Barcelona.
But he ran with a European team in the offseason. Like, it's not for somebody saw something in him. We're not crazy to think that he was a 4-star. For fuck's sake. Like, I mean, he was a 4-star.
Yeah. He has got to get his confidence figured out because he can help. He can be a guy that buys you those 6-7 minutes.
He was rated higher than Tari Eason in the same class.
I said he's going to help Cincinnati fans like not hurt as much over Tari Eason leaving.
We both said he was going to be the surprise player of this year. Well, he's been a surprise, all right.
Hasn't been a good one. And I love the kid, but like he has got to get out of his head. He has got to go out there and just play.
Just shoot.
Just play. Like he can defend multiple positions.
Let the game come to
play
you.
Multiple,
yeah.
And he gets out there and he overthinks it and he doesn't trust himself. And so it makes decisions at the 4 and 5 really tough because Kalu hasn't worked yet. Odie is inconsistent, and Jarrett right now they're struggling to find minutes for him.
Also with JD, I mean the announcers pointed out very early in the game. If you're Houston, you run
go right at him.
You run you try and make sure that your what did they say, that you want your best player on him, No, they said you want to try and scheme it so that your worst player. I don't recall how they said it.
You want to scheme it so the guy with the ball in his hands like can go at JD.
Yeah.
Essentially. Like, okay, run our stuff, back picks, down, elevator screens, down screens, baseline runner, and then the guy that gets the ball has JD on him. That's what they want the end result of their actions.
They want their best player.
That's kind of what they're getting.
They want their best player to end up with JD guarding him.
Right. Like, so they're
targeting JD.
They're scheming. Okay, we do this. This is how they play defense. We get this action. We get the ball in the hands of the guy we want to have the ball in his hands with JD across from him. Now, I thought he did a pretty good job defensively today.
I would agree largely. I think it's wild.
They went at him. They hit some tough shots. Like, I don't think he gave up a lot of easy. And, like, if you go back to last year, teams were scheming 30 points on his head.
Yeah, he was a cat with a laser.
Right. I think that is less the case this year. But still,
I think it's wild that an ESPN broadcast crew who has not watched this team all season long was able to call that out within the first 5 minutes of the game.
Well, Mark Adams has called a lot of UC games the past 2 years.
Fair enough.
So he knows, like, this isn't anything new. The tape doesn't lie. Right?
I don't know. It was a frustrating game because you felt like there were at 22-21 with Cincinnati down 1 point that they were going to be in this thing for longer than they were. And all of a sudden it's 48 to, I think it was 48 to 20, 48 to 30, 48, 28, 48, 30, somewhere in there. And the game was out of hand, where Houston was able to double their score while Cincinnati was able to score 8. Double their score and then some. And Cincinnati was able to score 8.
They got punked out of the start of the second half. They came out
cold, flat.
Houston did this. Cincinnati did this. The added intensity from Houston, definitely, like, that's the thing with Houston. Like, we saw what they did to SMU at the beginning of the SMU game, the 34-6 or whatever. If you don't do what Cincinnati did at the beginning of the first half, remember they came out, they got up 5-0. Houston answered with that 10-0 run, but then Landers hit a 3, and Cincinnati got into that rhythm of, like, your defense is not invincible. Because in the second half, they made a couple bad turnovers again. That first segment, remember, this was the difference in the game, Aaron. They had 4 turnovers in the first segment of the first half. They only had 2 the rest of the first half. So they only had 6 turnovers at halftime. They ended up with 17. They were sloppy to start that first segment in the second half, and then they didn't like rein it in, right? It got worse. And Houston just kept, like, preying on, we're going to bait you into thinking you got an easy pass, and then we're going to go dunk it.
This goes back to us both wanting Landers Nolly to take more shots, be more aggressive with the ball, either off ball or with ball in his hand. And 12 points in the first 5 minutes and no points. None. 0. The rest of the game.
Well, that was like the first 10 minutes. But yes, your point stands.
Still.
I know. I'm just like, you know how the chat is, right?
That's a quarter of the game, though. Give it 10. Fine.
Right.
It felt like 5, but I don't know when his last point was, but regardless, probably 8 minutes.
Let's see. Second one at 14-11. Third one at 9-17. And then 8:41. So 8:41 remaining in the first half. So in the first 11 minutes and 19 seconds, he scored 12 points. And then the rest of the game, he didn't score.
So he was pacing 40.
Yeah.
And just left it at 12.
Well, he's pacing like 30, 36, 35, 36.
There's 20 minutes and a half, right?
Yeah.
And he had 12 with, you said in the first 12 minutes?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So right around.
Pacing 40.
Yeah.
I do want to apologize. I know last night I made this is Rachel talking right now, by the way. I made a point last night that Houston was shooting 47% and how ridiculous that was, that their rebounding was not reflective of 47%. She said, "What's Cincinnati been shooting?" When I brought this
46%.
point up to her, 46%.
Yeah.
So that one's on me for not doing my homework on our team.
Surprised Houston settled for long mid-range twos. They take a lot of those because they have guys that are really, really good at making them. Like, you're not going to punish them for hitting like Dave is generally really good at those. Landers has been pretty good at those. Dave hasn't been good at it the last two games, but that's in general. He was good against Tulane, I think, if I remember correctly.
I feel like Tulane was more than Tulane was 4 games ago. Houston, Wichita State, Temple, Tulane.
Oh, yeah. Like the Wichita State game didn't happen in my head.
Because it's always a win.
There's been a lot going on. I just think
no one's trying to argue that.
Houston, and then
I just think Temple, Tulsa, and Tulane are all the same team to you at this point. You're like, does it start with a T? Tulsa, Tulsa.
I think it's just Texas Tech in the Big 12, right? That's the only TCU.
Yeah, there's 2.
But they don't sound anything alike.
No, one's 3 initials. One's Texas
So
Tech.
I should be okay. And then Oklahoma's leaving. We're doing a live on a Sunday night. You'll listen to driving 30 minutes to work in the morning. We said we were only going to do 30, 40 minutes, and we're here at an hour. So it's probably about time to get out of here.
We're probably at that point. Yeah.
But, Mike Adams-Woods played awesome. Look, this is the other thing.
If we're drawing silver linings,
people are going to get mad at me for this. Everybody wants to run players off because they're in a slump or they're having a year that's maybe not as good as people expected them. Everybody, all of you, almost all of you, wanted him run out of town at the end of last year. He's not good enough. He can't play here. He will never be a guy that makes legitimate consistent contributions to this team.
He fixes game.
No, he's just in a spot where he's comfortable now.
No.
Yes.
Don't you do that. He's taking way better shots, higher percentage shots.
Aaron. This is what he did his freshman year when he was surrounded by Jaron Cumberland and Trey Scott and Javen Cumberland and Keith Williams. And he was in a role that allowed him to be what he is as a player. And now he is back in that role where he's the fourth or fifth best option. And he looks a lot like he did when we thought this kid has a great future.
When he was 4th best.
Last year, when they started blitzing David DeJulius and taking him out of the game, and Jeremiah was your number 1, and Micah had to be your number 2 because Dave couldn't get a shot, he wasn't – that ain't him. That ain't it. He ain't built for that role. But as the 4th guy on the scouting report, he's very valuable. And kudos to him. He was given the talk. We're going to bring in a guy to start, like, the starting point guard for next year isn't on this roster. And he said, I bet. All right.
Salute.
I'm not going anywhere. I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving. That's what he said.
Do you think that he was asked to leave at some point?
No, I think he was explained that the goal is to recruit a starting point guard this offseason.
And they did that.
And they did that with Rob.
Did just that, sure.
Everybody thought or felt that Rob was going to be the starting point guard.
He was.
No, Micah started.
The whole time?
Yep, Micah.
Rob never started one game?
I don't believe Rob started a game.
Okay. I thought he started.
Maybe Shamanon, but that
I thought he started one or two, but
Micah's been the starter. And Micah won the job outright, and he has earned it.
He's looked fantastic.
So I think he wasn't told get bent. He was told we're going to bring in competition. We're going to bring in, we're going to go to the transfer portal. We're going to go get a starting Big Ten point guard that has started for 4 years.
The Big Ten's overrated.
That might be the case. But Micah said, that's fine. I'm going to stay here, and I'm going to win my job. And now there's a bunch of people that decided that he wasn't good enough to play here and he should be kicked off the fucking team that are now saying,
bring him back next year. Bring him back next year.
That guy comes back next year.
Before we get out of here, I have one last thing to say. I hate the NFL and what they did with everything with this stupid NFL map. Joe Burrow is from Athens, Ohio. What are we doing? Why can't I watch the Bengals game out here in Athens, Ohio? I'm getting Browns Steelers bullshit out here in Athens, Ohio. Getting YouTube TV next year. I'm so happy that DirecTV doesn't have the NFL Sunday ticket anymore or whatever it's called.
Pause for 1 second.
Yeah.
Waiting for the next presser on Tuesday so you can see me. I won't be around for at least another week or two. Kelly's immune system doesn't exist right now. So if I'm out in public more than taking food from a drive-thru, which has basically been my existence. The Venmo is open. Chad Brendel. The PayPal's open. Chad Brendel. Eating out twice a day for 2 people for 20 days.
Not fun.
This shit ain't cheap. It ain't cheap. Anyhow, Venmo at Bearcat Journal, PayPal at Bearcat Journal. Send me food for their money for food. Kelly's doing okay. Her blood pressure is stabilizing. She's still in ICU. She's probably going to be in ICU for another day or two. They have to get her off this blood pressure medication before they'll let her leave the ICU. She's on 2 of them. She has to be off both of them before they'll let her leave. So I'm guessing Tuesday, maybe Wednesday. But spirits are up a little bit. She's not in as bad a shape as she was. Anyhow, Aaron.
Chad.
If it's okay for there an exception to be made for Baton Rouge to get Bengals games, then why can't Athens, Ohio get Bengals games?
I don't know. Maybe because Baton Rouge actually has news channels that are stationed in the city of Baton Rouge. Athens doesn't have that. We are on Huntington and Columbus combined.
Yeah, maybe that's it.
But still, we can do anything digitally. Give us in this digital footprint, for fuck's sake, Joe Burrow in his hometown, where I don't care what anyone says. Walk around in my shoes in this town, put on some Bengals gear, and see how many people ask you if you're watching the game today, if you watched the game last week, if you're watching the game next week, if you know what Joe's done this week. It's so stupid, man. Get out of here. Don't come at me and say, "Oh, I've been in Athens. I know what happens there. This is a tired diatribe." You're a tired diatribe. Get out of here.
Cooper says that the Columbus station had the Bengals game.
Yeah, well, not the Columbus station that broadcasts here. That was Huntington. I'm done.
The Huntington station's going to have the Steelers.
Yeah, well, Huntington station can get bent. There was nothing to play for. It's stupid.
All right. That's the live nightcap. Thanks to all of you for tuning in. As always, you guys are great. Great chat tonight. Great talk tonight. And we'll be back with the BBP tomorrow. This is the nightcap right here on BearcatJournal.com. Thanks, Ronnie. Appreciate you, brother.
See ya!